Welcome back to Gaelic Fan TV. It is the match week preview of the National Football League round number 4. Obviously, plenty of huge matches this weekend. I suppose it doesn't get much bigger than Dublin versus Kerry, obviously at Croke Park, one of the most historical fixtures in the history of the National Football League. And both sides go toe-to-toe once again this weekend. Of course, Mayo and Tyrone have had plenty of history down the year, so they face off against each other as well. Roscommon against Monaghan, that's a massive game, really, in the context of two sides struggling down near the bottom of the table. And Derry, are they going to continue their winning start against Galway? Also, some massive games in Division 2 as well, actually. When you look at Donegal and Armagh, the way both of those two teams have started, you've got Meath against Kildare, two sides very familiar with each other. And even looking at the likes of Cork, Louth, kind of sides in and around amongst at the bottom, could be some really interesting storylines from some of the games this weekend. We'll be looking at divisions 3 and 4 as well. Joined here by Seamus Brady from Oncliha. Seamus, I mean, when you look at some of the games coming up this weekend, it's going to be an absolutely mouth-watering weekend of football action. And I suppose match day 4, like after this weekend, really, like I think the picture will become even more clear in terms of who could be getting promoted, who could be getting relegated. And I think I've seen it could even be possible for a few teams potentially even actually mathematically get relegated this weekend if certain results go certain ways. So, I mean, it's going to be a cracking weekend of football.
It absolutely is, Aaron. And thanks for having me on again on the show. Looking forward to jumping into all these games. You're absolutely right. It's crunch time now for a lot of counties, particularly in Division 2. Like, we've got Meath and Kildare going up against each other. Like, that is absolutely massive for both of those counties. If one of them loses that, they're down. Like, I don't see them picking up points off any other team that they have left to face in that division. Like, the fact that Meath picked up that victory against Louth last week is crucial for them going into that game. Kildare don't have their feet under the table yet with a win. There's so many games. Like, Monaghan Roscommon is a huge game at Dr. Hyde Park, because Roscommon probably would have marked that one as one that they could potentially win. And if Monaghan beat them, Monaghan are one win away from safety, and Roscommon are perilously close to the drop at that point. Like, they've no wins from 4 games then, and they still have, Kerry, Derry left to face out 2 out of the last 3. Like, that doesn't bode well for them staying up. So it's an absolutely massive weekend, crunch time, as you said, for all these counties involved, and I can't wait to dive into it.
Absolutely. Irish Mike here says, is Division 2 the place to be? Armagh sailing high, try new things, no pressure, and resting and rotating squad, building a winning mentality and fresh into championship. Yeah, it is an interesting point. And actually, when you look back at the last few years, a lot of teams who have been in Division 2 have actually gone on to have very good championships. Like, you look at both Dublin and Derry last season, obviously both got promoted. Dublin won the All-Ireland. Derry got to the All-Ireland semi-finals. Year before, Galway were in Division 2, got promoted, got to the All-Ireland final. Even the season previous, I think in 2021, Mayo got to, won Division 2, and obviously then went on to the All-Ireland final. So I suppose it does go to show that maybe we're looking at it all wrong. Maybe teams need to purposely get themselves relegated.
But like that's it. It's like 2019 is the last year where a team either didn't get relegated from Division 1 or didn't get promoted from Division 2 that season. Like, Mayo got relegated in 2020 and made the All-Ireland final in the same year. So look, the league, what the league is the best for is to dramatically improve your squad, or to improve your squad as best as you can going into the championship. That's what the league is best for. That when it comes to the last 2 or 3 rounds of fixtures, you know what's your best team. And for Armagh, brilliant. Like, absolutely right, that comment. Armagh have embedded in Cian McConville. Like, he hit the back of the net in the first round for Armagh, hit one of their goals against Meath as well, I think. Oisín Connaty looked tidy against Kildare in that last round. Jarlath Doug Burns is back into the team. They still haven't had to bring in Rian O'Neill yet. Like, he's still waiting in the wings to come back in. Like, Armagh are moving nicely. There's no question about it. And all of the kind of pressure that seemed to be on Kieran McGeeney at the start of, coming towards the end of last year, seems to not really be as much of a factor now. The fact that he's put, 3 wins together, there's a lot of goodwill now around Armagh, and Armagh seemed so far in a better position than Kildare did last week at Netwatch Cullen Park. They're like, Armagh looked the complete opposite of Kildare in terms of they had optimism. They seemed to be going in the right direction. And this was a county that, barely clung on to McGeeney at the end of last season. So it's crazy how much just a couple of run of fixtures could change this. And me and you were saying this off air. After the Mayo game, a lot of people were panicking. After the Monaghan game, a lot of Dublin people were panicking, saying, well, that's it, we're down. Like PTSD clearly from 2022. Yeah. If we were saying this, if we beat Kerry, and there's no guarantees that we will, that is a very much a 50-50 game. But if we beat Kerry this weekend, then it will be back-to-back wins. And I guarantee all of a sudden everybody will be talking about Dublin pushing for maybe to slip into the top two and make a league final. So it is crazy how quick the narrative can switch. And that's what I'm saying. This weekend, a lot of teams can either switch the narrative about their league. If Galway beat Galway are playing Derry. If Galway beat Derry, given that Galway have home advantage, and the last time Galway played Derry, they smoked them. Like, if they beat Derry, the narrative around their campaign changes as well. Because then they've put back-to-back wins together, and they actually have 5 points on the board after drawing with Roscommon. So this weekend, a lot can change this weekend.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, and even if Dublin were to beat Kerry, as you said, it's a massive ask, considering, I suppose, I just think Kerry would be absolutely chomping at the bit, especially after the All-Ireland final last year. But we would go on 4 points, and we would actually go above them, on the head-to-head record. But yeah, I suppose there is no better place to start. Obviously, the game on Saturday evening, double header with the Dublin Limerick hurlers as well. So looking forward to getting down to Croke Park and watching both of those two games in the flesh. Yeah, look, I mean, what have you made of Dublin so far? Because, like, as you were sort of alluding to there, opening 2 games, 2 defeats, there was a little bit of negativity, but in my opinion, the performances I actually thought were relatively okay. Like, there were certainly moments in the Monaghan game, all right, where we were a little bit poor, but I think at the same time, you have to give credit to actually how well worked and how well good those goals were for Monaghan. But yeah, what have you made of Dublin's overall performances so far?
They're almost peculiar. Like that, for example, like the Monaghan game. Monaghan game was just, you left Croke Park thinking, how on earth have we lost that game? Like, how do we had Monaghan at home. It was the perfect opportunity to kind of book the trend of Monaghan beating Dublin in the Allianz League. And we got the goal inside 4 minutes, and it was the first score of the game. It was a Monaghan side without Conor McManus, without Rory Beggan, without Darren Hughes. Kieran Hughes had just recently retired, and we still lost. And like, it was a game that we definitely had. That game could have been won if Dublin had played their best. But we didn't. And then the Mayo game, I actually thought Dublin played quite well. But one point that was made really, really interestingly on Colin Parkinson's podcast, the Smaller Fish GA, it is a really good point that Colin made with Keane Ward. Like, they're great at what they do as well. Like, Keane was saying, Dublin control that game for long periods. And Colin Parkinson said, because Mayo were happy to let them do it. Mayo were happy to let them control the game. Because if Dublin get into this vibe where they feel like they own the ball and they're controlling the game, they don't actually go for the kill that much anymore. Would you kind of agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think you can see with some of Dublin's performances so far, like, there definitely is an element of, I suppose, slowing it down like as much as possible. And I think whether it is to control the game more, or whether it is Dublin holding themselves in reserve a little bit like last year, very, very similar to how Dublin performed last year, like at the start of the league. Only thing is, I think we have actually moved the ball better. I think we have had better moments. I think our quality's been a lot better. I think it's just been, we've been playing better teams, and teams in this division, Monaghan, seasoned veterans in Division 1, the likes of Mayo, I know a lot of people give Mayo slack a lot of the time. They're still probably top 5 in the top 5 teams in the country. Like, if you give them chances, they will take them. And I think that's what it's boiled down to. And there has been a few, senior players obviously not there, like McCarthy, Fitzsimons, few younger lads obviously been bedded into the team as well. So yeah, like I think it's certainly not been panic stations, like and I think from a Dublin perspective, it has been an element of control, but also an element, I think, of Dublin just holding themselves back ever so slightly. Again, I think because of the age profile, I don't think we can go hammer and tongs the same way Derry are, for example, because I do think Dublin would burn themselves out with some of the more senior players. Could be wrong on that, but I just think that's generally how and that's how it's been under Desi Farrell since.
And you wonder as well, actually, so just to tag on to that point, players like Benny Heron and that in the Derry team stepping away. You wonder did he see the Mickey Hart like plan for 2024 and thought, like, I'm dipping out here, like this is too much. Like in the Derry starting lineup, like Christy McCaig is 34, but I don't think anyone else is close to him in terms of age off the top of my head. Can you think of anyone that's 32, 33 apart from him? Emmett Bradley maybe.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Like Conor Glass is what, 29? Is he 28?
Yeah. But like again, there's a big difference between 29 and 34.
Both Christy McCaig, Shane McGuigan, like Brendan Wright, like they are. To be fair, they are lads who have been around for a while.
McGuigan, I think McGuigan is still be mid-20s off the top of my head. I don't know that by fact, but I do agree with your point that Dublin have more miles on the clock. No doubt about it. Dublin have a lot more mileage, and if we were to go as full on as Derry have been going, we probably would burn out. Like, that is true. But Parkinson's point about Dublin was spot on, to be fair. Like this whole thing that when Dublin, the perfect example of Dublin doing that was in 2021. It's like we almost like fell in love with how we played the game ourselves, and like we loved this word of like efficiency. Like, let's hand pass. Kieran Kilkenny will hand pass it until he hand passes it to someone who's in the percentage area to take a shot. And then they'll shoot and score, and we'll win the game by 4 points and move on to the next one, no matter who we played. Do you remember that year? We beat Westmeath by 4 points or something. We beat Wexford by 4 points. Like, we scraped by Meath and then beat Kildare relatively easy. But, like, the whole summer was like teams are getting a lot closer to Dublin. And then against Mayo in the All-Ireland semi-final, we absolutely dominated for 40 minutes, 45 minutes. And by the end of that 45 minutes, we were only 4 points ahead, and Mayo did it in 5 minutes. Like, so that I think it's an interesting tactic. And I think if Desi has noticed that some teams will do that, some teams will let Dublin own the ball for 40, 45 minutes to try and make sure that Dublin don't go for the kill and hit them on the counter attack with the likes of Mannion, Con O'Callaghan. Because look at how Roscommon got undone on the counter with Niall Scully's goal last week. When Dublin hits you on the counter, they can rip you apart. Like, we remember the third quarter blitz that Mayo got hit with in 2019. Like, so I think Desi, if we can step out of this league with anything, it's number one, Theo Clancy getting game time at full back, which we've seen, and he's doing great. It's brilliant to see. He looks made for that role. But the second thing is to have the plan for what if a team decides to sit off and let us own the ball. We need to go for the kill just as much.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, and I suppose like when you've seen Dublin against Mayo in the All-Ireland quarter final, second half, pushing up on kickouts, just completely, raising.
But Kerry won't do that, by the way. Kerry won't do that. Kerry won't give us the ball, so we don't need to worry about that for this game.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, that's the thing. Kerry are coming to Dublin to play football, to play their game, to beat us, to turn us over, and I suppose beat us in our own backyard. And I'd imagine they would be hugely fired up for it. And to be fair, they've started the league fairly well. Like, maybe struggled to get going a little bit against Derry, but obviously a lot of players missing. But once you've seen Clifford come on against Monaghan, combined with Paudie Clifford, combined with Sean O'Shea at full forward, a bit of a baptism of fire, like putting him in there. He looks as good as he's ever looked playing in that role so far. You're adding Killian Burke into the half forward line. So Kerry are looking fairly strong, and like I thought they did very well to grind it out against Mayo in the end. And yeah, look, they're going to be coming to this game in flying form, and they'll be confident to beat us.
Yeah, the victory over Mayo was a very impressive one. When you look at it like that, Mayo are scrappers, and in the league, especially on a Saturday night, they're always going to be difficult to beat. The way they worked it to Clifford, And the way Clifford got that shot off his left was just a real, like, it was a pretty iconic moment, to be fair. Like, it was a real, like, wow, this guy's good. Just in case anybody forgot how good Clifford is, he wins the game for Kerry with the last kick. Like, it was a very good finish to that game. Kerry clutched up and won it when it mattered. The victory over Monaghan, the way they were able to put the burners on and, you know, absolutely leave Monaghan for dead was very impressive as well. This game against Dublin in Croke Park, this is a stage that Cliffords and O'Shea will be absolutely gunning for. Like, they will be gunning for this stage. They will absolutely be relishing the prospect of potentially getting just the smallest bit of revenge for what happened in last year's All-Ireland final. Because particularly David, you know, the talk of that he didn't have a great game and that he was off the pace. If anybody's got a point to prove coming into this league game, it's David Clifford, and I would be quite fearful for whoever picks him up, to be completely honest. I certainly wouldn't like to be that guy.
Yeah, like, I imagine when David Clifford saw the fixture list, this is probably the first game he looked for. When am I playing Dublin? Okay, 4 games into the league, grand. I'll come back, halfway through the Monaghan game just to get myself up to speed, and then by the time I go to Croke Park, I should be in tip-top shape. Who do you think does pick him up then? Because that's going to be the interesting one. I mean,
I think it's too early for Theo. It's too early for Theo Clancy to go on him.
Yeah.
But then who does Theo Clancy mark?
Sean O'Shea.
This is what I mean. Pick your poison, like.
Oh yeah. I think it's one of them where
I think, I agree with you. I think Theo will probably take Shawnee, and they might stick somebody a little bit more experienced on to David Clifford. Lee Gannon will go on Paddy. I think that's perfect matchup between them two. It's God. I don't know. Because we've had, I think Sean McMahon maybe. Sean McMahon's been in the corner.
Yeah, he marked Clifford towards the end of the All-Ireland final last year.
End of the All-Ireland final, he did. I think maybe we go with Sean McMahon. I don't think we're seeing McFitz anyway.
No.
So yeah, I think Sean McMahon will go on David. Lee Gannon will go on Paddy. Maybe Keane Murphy either, and Lee Gannon will sweep. But yeah, I think that those will be the matchups. John Small will play again. John Small will come back into 6, no question about it. This is the type of game that Dublin will want to win. The interesting thing is seeing how Diarmuid O'Connor and Joe O'Connor will do against Brian Fenton. Like, there's no midfield test that will be like it, apart from the Derry game, you could say, that will test their midfield prowess to this level. Brian Fenton is as good as it gets. So it'll be interesting to see how Joe and Diarmuid O'Connor do against him. Because I genuinely had Diarmuid O'Connor down for an all-star in my book up until the All-Ireland final last year. So he has, like, his performance against Tyrone, especially in the All-Ireland quarterfinal, was awesome. So he has that ability in him. No question about it. Going down the other end, which matchups do you expect for the Kerry defenders and the Dublin forwards?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like, I suppose
Dublin don't have that. Who's going to pick up Con? Probably Jason Foley.
You'd imagine so, especially after Con's performance the last day. But I don't know about you, but like, from watching the game and everything else, like, when I was looking at Con's positions and the positions he was taking up, like, obviously he was named in midfield, and I think we all know he didn't play in midfield. But when you look at his positions, like, he was drifting around the half forward line, he was in a corner forward, he was going into full forward at different times. And I do think maybe it was a bit of a ploy from Desi Farrell to be like, you know, let's name him in midfield, and then we'll throw him in around the half forward line, and he'll also drift into corner forward at times as well. And it'd be a bit of a nightmare for Davy Burke and the opposition to try and figure that one out. So yeah, like, I mean, Con, like, because he looked massively rejuvenated against Roscommon, and that's the first time we've seen Con play as well as that in an attacking sense, in terms of scoring points, in terms of having that explosiveness that we remember him from many years ago. Like, that's the first time we've seen that from him in a while. So yeah, you'd probably be looking at Jason Foley maybe to pick him up.
Graham O'Sullivan or Tom O'Sullivan could be shouts either.
Yeah.
I know that's the whole Kerry full back line, but the thing that Kerry have done in the first couple of games that has surprised me is their defenders are popping up everywhere. Like, Graham O'Sullivan would kick the mark against Derry in the full forward line. Dylan Casey scored a goal against Derry as well. And was it Graham O'Sullivan who got the other goal? I think it was a defender. Jason Foley had a shot saved by Oran Lynch as well from like point blank range. Like, I wonder, is it a genuine tactic, or are they just being told to take one man and stick with them? Jason Foley probably will take Con. Graham is a very good shout because Graham has pace to burn as well. Graham O'Sullivan's outrageously quick.
I feel like it depends on Costello as well. Obviously, he went off with that sort of with a bloody nose. Don't know
whether they want to keep him at wing back, because they've had Tom listed at number 5 for a few games. Will they want to keep him there? Will they want to put him back into the corner? He'll attack anyway. I would imagine Tom or Graham will take Costello if he's fit. There it is. Like, Graham set it up for Dylan Casey. Like, so you wonder, is this like a genuine tactic that Kerry have, or are they just finding themselves up in those positions? I think it's going to be really, really interesting. David O'Hanlon as well. You know, this is probably the biggest game that David O'Hanlon's played for Dublin. Is that fair to say?
I think so. It's a massive test, isn't it? It's a massive test. Like, that is overall the defense is the worry, though, isn't it? Because 5 goals conceded in the opening 3 games.
You wonder about his mentality. You wonder about his mindset. You wonder if it's the one thing. You wonder, like, did Desi have a word with him? Like, did Desi have a word with him and go, look, Stephen is Stephen. He'll be here for this year, but I'm going to back you when he goes. Yeah. And did that make David stick with it? Because, to be honest, if I was David and Desi didn't have a word with me, part of me would have been like, oh, to hell with this.
Yeah,
you know,
but I think
everything right.
I think it's one of them, though. Like, Cluxton, I know he's still going on, and we like to think maybe he's immortal or something. He'll still be playing for another 5, 6, 7 years. But I think you're looking at it and thinking, surely maybe this is finally his last year. Maybe next year, maybe he gives it one last push. But I couldn't see anything more than this year, if not next year. So I think O'Hanlon's probably looking at it and thinking, look, I'll keep being the number 2. I'll take those opportunities. I'll take the chances. And then, if Cluxton does pull a fast one again and decides he doesn't want to come back, then O'Hanlon's the man to come in. But yeah, like, it's ultimately then, what are you thinking? Like, in terms of a prediction? I mean, it's, as you said, Kerry are going to be coming up to this wanting revenge. But at the same time, like, I have been, like, quietly impressed a little bit with Dublin in terms of how I thought we did a lot of good parts against Mayo. It was just their shooting that let us down. Same in the first half versus Roscommon. So we know if Dublin play their best football, they're more than capable of winning this. And I don't think it would be inconceivable if Dublin do come away with the 2 points. But what are you thinking?
It's not inconceivable that Dublin could win. It's very much a 50-50 tie. It's, to me, it's how this is the X factor. David Clifford has something to prove. David Clifford has, a bone to pick with Dublin at Croke Park, and that just spells out trouble for pretty much any team that he comes up against. And not only that, but he's on hot form. He was named Player of the Week last week. He kicked the winner against Mayo. To be honest, I probably would lean towards Kerry. My head says Kerry. Like, obviously my heart will always say Dublin to win. But I just feel like Kerry will probably have a stronger team out. They'll probably have more to their full strength 15 picked. Dublin won't have McCarthy, won't have Cluxton, won't probably have a fully fit McCaffrey. He didn't really play or feature much in the league up to this point. Costello, who knows if he'll be fit. Mannion probably won't be there. So that's a difficult situation for Dublin to win that game against a fully strengthened, fully motivated Kerry to get some revenge for last year's All-Ireland final defeat. I'd probably say Kerry by 1 in a really entertaining game.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think I would edge towards Kerry. Look, I hope I'm wrong. I certainly hope I'm wrong.
So do I.
Predicted Kerry to win the All-Ireland final last year. I was wrong. And
I didn't.
Yeah, you were one of the good ones, in fairness. Maybe the last thing actually on this game, like, could there maybe be an element of, like, shadow box them maybe ever so slightly, like, because it's very likely Dublin Kerry play each other in the championship at some point. Doesn't always happen, of course, but you would think with draws and everything else, it mightn't be a final, maybe it might be a semi-final this time around. We'll have to wait and see, but very likely Dublin Kerry play each other again some point further down the line. So I just wonder, I mean, there's going to be a lot of games between now and then, but do you think there's an element maybe of not wanting to show your hand a little bit?
Maybe in certain tactics, like maybe in certain plays and everything like that, but in terms of the performance, no chance. We mean no shadow boxing in this game. When you don't like a team, and Dublin and Kerry respect each other, but the rivalry is there. And what that leads to is, like, Kerry's strengths, you know about them. You can't stop them. You know how good Seanie O'Shea is. You know how good David Clifford is. You know how good Paddy Clifford is. It's not like if David Clifford plays terrible in this game, Dublin are going to think, well, he's useless. We'll move. Like, he could shoot the lights out in this game, or he could play terrible in this game, and Dublin would still know that he's the one to watch when they meet them in the championship, if they meet them in the championship. So Kerry and Dublin will go full-blooded for this. And for the lads like Theo Clancy, for the lads like Dylan Gainey, who are starting to get their feet under the table for their inter-county sides, there is no better stage to prove that you should be in that championship team than to beat your biggest rivals in Croke Park, and you to have a major hand in that victory. There is no better claim to your starting position than to put on a performance in this game.
Absolutely. Yeah, look, it's going to be a cracking game. Really looking forward to, obviously, Dublin Limerick on before it as well, like that in hurling. Obviously, we're not here to preview the hurling, but that should be certainly a very good game as well. So yeah, very much looking forward to it. But I'd agree with you as well. I think Kerry just about to nick it by one or two. As you said before, when you look at the changes in Dublin's defence, the amount of goals we're conceding, you just wonder, how are we going to handle an informed Clifford? How are we going to handle an informed Sean O'Shea, Paddy Clifford pulling the strings in behind? It's going to be tough. But at the same time, I still back Dublin to put in a strong performance at the other end. But I do think Kerry will just about come through. Two other sides that I suppose have a lot of familiarity with each other, Tyrone and Mayo. Obviously, thinking back to the 2021 All-Ireland final, and a couple of league meetings recently where Tyrone have gotten the better of Mayo, albeit Mayo did beat them in the league last season from what I remember. So yeah, like, Mayo going well as well, it must be said. 2 wins from 3. Thought they played very well against Kerry as well, showed a lot of resilience to fight back with 14 men, and they obviously had that chance right at the death as well where they probably could have won it. So I think Mayo will be fairly happy. Tyrone, obviously, a lot of changes in their side so far, still not fully up to grips. But the main positive is that no Sigerson Cup obviously anymore. So Dara Canavan, you would hope from a Tyrone perspective, is wrapped in cotton wool throughout the week, and he's going to be fit and firing come Sunday.
Yeah, it's a big game, which Tyrone are going to need him for in this one, because after losing to Galway last week, that's a huge missed 2 points there for Tyrone on their quest for survival. It's another team that were in the relegation scrap with them and could still be, obviously, if they lose to Derry this week. Yeah, that's a good point as well. Wonder if Paul Flynn will get another dig about it.
He's definitely going to be on the Sunday game, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh, he has to be on the Sunday game. He has to be on the Sunday game. Or maybe they'll pull like the same thing with the discussion about hurling, and then they don't have Donald O'Cusack on to talk about it. Like, the fella who talks about it more than anybody else isn't on for the episode where they talk about it. That's another whole debate in itself. But anyway, back to the Mayo Tyrone game. Yeah, obviously the history that these two teams have, it's apparent. Once you deny Mayo an All-Ireland title, you become a target for every league game that you play against them for the rest of the time. Believe us as two Dubs saying it. They love nothing more than to beat Dublin in a coin toss, never mind an All-Ireland championship game. So for Tyrone, Mayo are going to want to beat them and pile, pressure onto Brian Dooher and pile a potential relegation onto Tyrone. Tyrone are really hard to know what to make of them. Because the reality is, I remember 2021 when Tyrone won that All-Ireland title. Like, do you remember at the time, the sentiment was, looking through the Tyrone panel, they were ridiculously strong and like had so much strength and depth. And like pretty much in the space of a year, that strength and depth whittled away. Players like Ronan O'Neill, Lee Brennan, Rory Brennan, Conor McKenna, Richie Donnelly, all left the panel. Yeah. Richie Donnelly, I think, left a year later, but Tiernan McCann left. Like Benny Gallen, the sub goalkeeper, left. Niall Sludden and Ronan McNamee are retired now. Cathal McShane has, not been fit. Like there's genuine quality players in Tyrone, like Lee Brennan, like Paul Donaghy, Rory Brennan, that you see in the club championships that aren't in the Tyrone panel. And yes, on the other hand, they're getting the likes of Ben Cullen, Kieran Daly. Like they're getting new lad, Niall Devlin, Shawnee O'Donnell. They're getting new talent into the team, and that's great. You can't deny that. But Tyrone don't have the best players that are available to them, in my opinion. If you were to make a 15 out of the lads that Tyrone don't have playing for them in the league versus the lads that Tyrone do have playing for them in the league, I think it would actually be a very tight game. Because for one team, you'd have Conor McKenna, Richie Donnelly, Lee Brennan, Rory Brennan. Like, there's a lot of good footballers in that team. And that's why with Dooher, I do feel it's interesting to see how he's going to go about this league, because Tyrone are picked by a lot of people to go down. They started off with a defiant victory over Roscommon, and they were terrible against Derry. Like, they were really, really terrible in a game where they should have been absolutely ready to go. They should have been absolutely geared up, ready to fight, ready to scrap, and they just weren't. And Derry just kind of took it with relative ease, and then they let the Galway game pass them by as well. And if I'm 100% honest, I think Mayo win this game. I genuinely think that Mayo win this game and Tyrone slip to 3 defeats in a row, because the reality is, I part of me does want to stay loyal to my initial picks as to who will finish where in the Allianz Leagues. And if Tyrone lose this game, they are on course to finishing in the bottom 2. And it's themselves and Roscommon that are the 2 that I picked to go down at the start. And if Roscommon lose to Monaghan this weekend, and if Tyrone lose to Mayo, I can see nobody but the 2 of them going down.
Yeah, I mean, Dublin and Kerry in their last 3 games as well. And Monaghan, I think, are in there as well. So really tough games to have, especially towards the end.
Especially because Monaghan always perk up at this stage.
They do, yeah. And like, if they need a victory, they'll pull it out somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It doesn't matter who they're coming up against. They'll find the win somewhere, and you could just see Tyrone maybe being the casualty. Mikey says, Tyrone relegated us in 2020. I'd like to return the favour. Yeah, as you were saying, don't forget. Gaelic says, I'd be confident in Mayo winning this, but both of these sides are very inconsistent, but still back Mayo, Tyrone. Tyrone 11 points, Mayo 2-9. Yeah, that's the thing, like, because when you were mentioning earlier about Tyrone, obviously having a lot of players who've left the panel, like even some of the existing players like Kieran McGeary, Conor Moyler, like we haven't really heard much of these players really in the sort of in the last year or so. Like, we haven't heard too much about them. They haven't put in the same levels of performances that they have obviously when they won that All-Ireland. So I think Dooher, and obviously Fergal Logan, obviously both of us pass on our best wishes to him and his recovery and everything else. But I'm sure when he was part of the management process earlier in the year as well, I'm sure they were thinking, let's give the younger lads a shout, because a lot of the more older lads, not necessarily older lads, but more experienced players who were part of that 2021 crop aren't pulling their weight, so let's give Kieran Daly a run out. Let's give Shawnee O'Donnell a run out. Let's get Rory Canavan in the side. Let's get Dara Canavan to be, one of our top players. And in the first game, it worked very, very well. They've had like they had moments like towards the end of that first half against Galway. They were impressive. Other than that, didn't do very much. Maybe without there being Sigerson, you might see Dara Canavan, Kieran Daly just be a bit more match sharp, and they'll probably get the full 70. But I do think maybe that's been the case for Tyrone a little bit.
Yeah, no, it definitely has. And like, they were being pulled in 3 or 4 different directions. We haven't seen Rory Canavan play his best stuff for Tyrone yet in this league campaign, definitely. Look, the Derry game came too soon for them. And there's no question about it. A game that intense, with that level of rivalry, with that much on it, that Derry game came too soon for them. Derry are way further down the track in terms of their transition, say, into the team that they are now. If Tyrone are in transition, they're at a very early stage of that transition. So the Derry game just came too soon, especially with the heat of Mickey Hart being the Derry manager and the rivalry and everything involved. I feel it just came too soon for them. This game is massive. And Tyrone need to win this game, because they need to look at it and go, well, we have Dublin and Croke Park. That's going to be a really, really difficult one. Yeah, I agree with this from Gaelic Guy. I think Tyrone are down if they lose this, because the only game I could possibly see them winning after that is the Monaghan one. And then I wouldn't even be sure. But then even if they win that one, they're on 4 points. That is nowhere near a guarantee that you're going to stay up. So they need to win this one just to give themselves a shot. Losing the game to Galway was massive. That was absolutely huge that they lost that one. A Galway team without Shane Walsh, without Damien Comer, Sean Kelly didn't start. It was at home and they let it pass them by. If they get relegated, I think that's the one they're going to look at and be like, we really let that one slip.
You're going for a Mayo victory. What are you thinking in terms of margin?
Mayo win. I think it'll be like a goal between the teams. I think it'll be like 212 to 112 or something like that. Like maybe 112 to 11 points or 111 to 12. Something tight. It won't be a domination, but I think Mayo will be a little bit too strong.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think Mayo just about maybe by 1 or 2 points. Again, you wouldn't be surprised Tyrone put in a big performance here. But I do think Mayo, in my opinion,
no, I wouldn't be surprised because they need to.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and it's one of them things as well. Like, it's mad. You're talking about perceptions in the league changing. Like, a win for Tyrone in this game actually takes them above Mayo. Like in the head-to-head, so it is mad. Like, we could be sat here in a week's time and the conversation could be entirely different. But I think that's what does make the league so special, in my opinion. The fact that one result and it can just flip the whole thing upside down. But yeah, I would agree with you. I would go with Mayo to come through it. Galway and Derry. Derry are absolutely flying at the minute. 3 wins from 3. All their big players are obviously in their sides. Some new additions obviously into the team as well. Of course, not all their big players, as people have sort of said to me in previous videos, like the likes of Garrett McKinless isn't there. A few other players haven't obviously come back into the side yet, but you have new players coming in, like Cormac Murphy, for example. But it was a huge win for Galway the last time out against Tyrone. So what are you thinking here? Could Galway make it back-to-back wins, or could Derry do the quadruple, 4 wins in a row?
It's a real banana skin for Derry. There's no question about it. This one's a dangerous game for Derry. And if they win this one, it's like, it's not out of the round to say that they could win all the games in the league then. If they've gone away to Kerry and beaten them, if they go away to Galway and beat them, if they beat Tyrone the way that they did, and they hammered Monaghan last week as well, like, you'd probably say maybe only Dublin could stop them then at that point, or Mayo maybe in a, topsy-turvy game like the Mayo ones always are. But they'll beat Roscommon, like, I think. So like Derry are motoring on very, very nicely. Like, they're carrying all the goodwill of, the Waddy Graham's Glen win, their performances, their back-to-back Ulster titles, their back-to-back All-Ireland semi-final appearances, and just the level of optimism that is around Derry right now. And the fact is they've hired Mickey Hart to cash in on this team. Yeah. Before Chrissy McCaig walks away, before other lads walk away, they're getting him in now to make good on this team that they have. Win the league title, win the All-Ireland title. Mickey Hart, I don't think, no way Mickey Hart will be here in 5 years. They brought him in to win the All-Ireland title. So they are motoring along now with nothing but that intention to win the league and to win the All-Ireland. Galway, on the other hand, like Pádraig Joyce came out and spoke after the Roscommon game where they drew, and he was saying, we've wanted to win this league. We haven't won it in so long. I don't think Galway have won it since the 90s or something. Yeah. He was saying, like, why would we not want to win the league? It's been so long since we've won it. they hadn't been playing in the first two games like they wanted to even be in the league. Like, they were shocking against Mayo in round one. Like, they looked really off the pace. Roscommon, it wasn't a great game. The conditions definitely didn't help. Like, the conditions were shocking that day. And Galway did well to fight back from the position that they were in to get the draw. That would have, that would have given them a lot of confidence going into the Tyrone game. And they really, really showed fight in that Tyrone game. Johnny Heaney was immense. Like, other players were absolutely brilliant, stood up and were counted. They really, really showed how much it mattered to them to get that victory in Tyrone. Because that was a game that they easily could have lied down in. And it does actually give me hope that they could really put it up to Derry. Because they won't fear Derry. Like, Derry are rolling along very nicely. But what happened the last time Galway played Derry?
Yeah.
Like, Galway annihilated them in the All-Ireland semi-final in 2022, and they beat them in the league as well in 2022 that year too. And Galway and Roscommon went up instead of Derry. So I know that Derry are way further along on their development since then, that they've especially become a lot more adventurous in terms of going forward. But the reality is Galway won't fear them. And especially at home, I think Galway will smell an opportunity to cause a real upset.
Yeah, I think Galway will keep it tight. I think they'll keep this game low scoring, as they have the majority of the games they've played so far this year, and even throughout the league last season. Very, very low scoring, keeping Derry out. I could see them doing that. The only thing about Galway, though, is I wasn't really that impressed with them too much against Tyrone. Like, for large parts, they were trailing, missing a lot of missed opportunities. Like, Tyrone were missing a lot of opportunities. And they obviously get that goal from Cathal Sweeney. And, like, it was really only that goal that actually changed them. I thought after that they were by far and away the better side. But up until that moment, I thought Tyrone maybe just shaded it. But I think neither side were particularly brilliant at that moment in time. So I just think if Derry play with the same intensity that they did against Monaghan, as an example, or as they did to begin with against Kerry, I would find it hard for Galway to keep up with Derry, especially when you're looking at Galway. Like, Matthew Tierney obviously goes off injured. You could possibly still have no Shane Walsh and Damien Comer. So, like, it is going to be a big ask, I think, for Galway to get anything from it, just as to how good Derry are looking right now. Like, if this is in the championship, Galway have their best team, then maybe Galway might have a chance. I know, as people have said, Derry may be missing Emma Bradley, Garrett McKinless as well, but Galway with their best team, I think, give Derry a very, very good game, no doubt about it. But I just think, looking at Derry as of now and Galway with some of those players missing, I would still go for Derry to come through, I think.
Yeah, they're the safe bet. It's a safe bet to say that Derry are going to win. But out of all the fixtures this weekend, especially the ones in Division 1, if you're to tell me pick one that there's going to be an upset in, this is the one. Because Derry are being absolutely lauded as, untouchable, unbeatable. They've won Ulster, but they haven't won the All-Ireland yet. So they haven't gone to the levels. They haven't even gone to the levels that Galway have gone to. Galway have been to the All-Ireland final within the last 2 years. Derry haven't. So Galway won't be afraid of this Derry team. But Derry are riding on a lot of momentum right now. And yeah, I don't think you could very, very confidently say that Galway will upset them. I will go with Derry to nick it. I will go with Derry to win by a point or two, and that result will be seen as like one where they really proved themselves that they were going to go push on and make the league final. Because it would be a hell of an achievement if they went from Division 4 to Division 3 to Division 2, missed a year, but then went up to Division 1, and in the first year in Division 1, they won the league. It would be a hell of a evolution to watch in front of our own eyes, and to go back and look at their team from 2018 or 2019 and see the likes of Christy McCaig, Shane McGuigan, and the foundations of that team being laid. But if I were to pick a game where there would be an upset, I would pick this one. But for the safe bet, I will pick Derry to win it by 2 points.
Yeah, I think I'll go for Derry as well. I'll probably go three, maybe 4 points. But I can see Derry. I can see Galway certainly having moments, but I do think Derry overall will be too strong. We've 52 people tuning in at the moment, so if you could hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already, that would be much appreciated. It helps the channel grow. Roscommon Monaghan, as we were saying at the top of the show, whoever loses this is in massive trouble, really. Especially you're looking at the Rossies. I mean, obviously only a point on the board, the only team in Division 1 yet to have won a game. So this is absolutely huge, isn't it? For Davy Burke, like, especially when you saw how vocal he was, obviously at full time after the Dublin match. He certainly wasn't happy. And look, you'd expect Roscommon, they're targeting this game, but Monaghan, they're targeting this game as well, because these are the type of games that Monaghan would usually, this is where they pick up the points. Like, usually they'll cause a big scalp somewhere along the way. They've obviously done that beating Dublin. And this is a game now that I'm sure Monaghan will hugely look at in terms of massive opportunity to put 2 points on the board.
It's the game that both of them will look at to keep themselves up. To use the oldest cliche in the book, it's a 4-pointer. Now, this is absolutely massive for both sides in their quests to stay up in Division 1. The teams that Roscommon have left to face after this game, they have yet to face Mayo, Derry, and Kerry. And I don't have that in the right order, but it's in whatever order. I mean, where are you getting the win out of those three? You're not getting an easy win out of those three games. Monaghan as well, this is where Monaghan start picking up their points. This is where Monaghan pick up one win, and then all of a sudden it seems possible that they stay up on the final day and they pull it off again. Monaghan, I don't think that they'll be bothered too much by the defeat to Kerry. I don't think they'll be bothered by the defeat to Derry. I think they know where to get the bang for their buck. I think that they'll look at this game and I think they'll know this is a game that we can win. But Roscommon are going to be absolutely determined to stay up. Like, you look at Davy Burke saying what 65 or 67 training sessions or something that he's talking about that they've done. And I thought against Dublin, I thought that they were actually okay. For particularly in the first half, they really stood up and stood toe to toe with Dublin for long periods. In the second half, Enda Smith went on one or two absolutely outrageously good runs straight through the Dublin defence. Like, Enda Smith is outrageously good. Derek Craig looked very sharp. Brian Stack back in the team is big. Ben O'Carroll, you'd imagine, will have a role to play in this one. Like, it's a game that Roscommon can definitely win, especially at home. And with Monaghan, being a team that has, it's lived like a cat with 9 lives. It's like I've picked Monaghan to go down last year. They didn't. I picked them to go down the year before. They didn't. So I'm very, very, very cautious to say that they are going to go down this time. I'm not saying that they're going to go down this time. And as I said to you, I'm kind of trying to stay loyal to my predictions at the start of the league. And I picked Monaghan to finish 6th and I picked Roscommon to finish 7th. And I think this game could be the difference in one staying up over the other. And I think Monaghan will probably nick it. A late, like, Stephen O'Hanlon inspired performance that Monaghan just find a way to win. Roscommon could definitely win this, though. This one's probably the hardest to call, I think. Maybe next to Dublin and Kerry.
Yeah. Like, I'm thinking a draw, to be honest with you.
A draw is very possible, actually. A draw is extremely possible.
I could see this being... See, the only thing is Roscommon are very low scoring, like, when you look through a lot of their games. Like, they tend to put up 10, 11 points per game. When you look at Monaghan, like, even though they've lost the last 2 games, they've still actually put up almost more than what Roscommon have put up in their last few games. Like, okay, Roscommon scored 112 the last day, Monaghan scored 13 points. But generally speaking, Monaghan have been still racking up a good amount of scores. In fairness, Mikey says, aren't Monaghan injury ravaged? If Roscommon don't win this, they'll be joining Cavan and down in Division 2 next year. Yeah, they could be. They could certainly be on their way. Who knows? So maybe Cavan might make an L push. They're going all right in Division 2. They might be. But I do think it'll be Armand Donegal. But yeah, like, I mean, like, Jack McCarron's obviously still in there, but aside from that, they probably have introduced a lot more players. Still have obviously Conor McManus and a good few others to come back in. What are you thinking then? You're going Monaghan. You're going for Monaghan?
You very nearly talked me into going for a draw. To be completely honest, you very, very nearly talked me into going for a draw. I would be like such a Monaghan thing to do, to wait until the final 2 rounds and then put back-to-back wins together to stay up. I'll go with Monaghan to nick it by a point. Like genuinely something like a goal and 9 to 11 points, or a goal and 10 to 12 points. Something where Monaghan just a late winner from someone like Stephen O'Hanlon that just gets it. Or Jack. No, do you know what? 100% Jack McCarron. Jack McCarron always does it. Or maybe that's just to Dublin. Maybe, who knows? But yeah, I'd be a similar wavelength. Monaghan by 1.
Yeah. No, I think. Yeah, look, I don't think this is going to be a spectacle of a game. I think it's going to be probably not the greatest watch. I think it's going to be low scoring. I could easily see these,
especially in the Hyde as well. It feels like they're playing in a thunderstorm every time they play a game there.
Yeah, literally. Like I could see this being like a 2-8, 1-11, or like 12 points apiece, or something like that. In fairness, we'll move on to Division 2. We will actually just have a look at the Division 1 table first of all. Should have done this to begin with, but this is how the Division 1 table is looking. So Derry on 6 points, Kerry 4 points, Mayo 4, Galway 3, Dublin with 2 points, Tyrone in 6th with 2 points, Monaghan and Roscommon both in the relegation zone there. So
that table will look pretty ugly for Dublin if we lose to Kerry.
It will, and especially with Monaghan and Roscommon playing each other. You know, like there's some teams are going to get points there somewhere.
Like if Tyrone pull off a win against Mayo, Dublin are in the bottom too.
Especially with Derry to come away from home after that as well. So yeah, it is going to be tough. It is going to be tough. Before we get into the Division 2 fixtures, we'll remind ourselves of the table here. So Armagh, Donegal are both in first and second with 6 points. Obviously, both have to play each other this coming weekend. Cavan with 4 points. Fermanagh are in 4th. Meath are in 5th. Louth are in 6th. And Cork and Kildare both dead bottom with 0 points. Armagh, Donegal, I mean, it's definitely going to be one of the games of the weekend, I think. I think a lot of people are going to be tuning into this. I haven't actually seen if it's on TV. I presume it is. I think it is. I think I did see it on TV. But yeah, like this is going to be a cracking game. Like Armagh playing some wonderful football at the minute. I know obviously there's a big storyline about Kildare and we'll certainly get onto them. But I think Armagh were still absolutely brilliant. And Donegal have played some wonderful football so far as well. So 2 teams in the absolute form of their lives. And this should be a cracker.
Yeah, definitely should be. And like, I mean, it's a case of 2 teams that are doing everything that they've been expected to do, and this is the most difficult test that they've come up against so far in the Allianz Leagues of 2024. The last time Jim McGuinness and Kieran McGeeney locked horns in Championship was the 2011 All-Ireland quarter-final, Donegal against Kildare, Kevin Cassidy with the winning point. That's one of my favourite games of Gaelic football when I was growing up, just for Cassidy's winner. It was absolutely insane. So yeah, McGeeney and McGuinness have a lot of respect for each other, but they'll really, really want to win this game. Because if they win this game and finish top of Division 2, it really sends out a statement, because a lot of hype are around both of these teams. So if Donegal prove they're better than Armagh, or if Armagh prove they're better than Donegal, in terms of their league position anyway, it's a massive psychological advantage going into the Championship. Donegal have Derry in round 1 of Ulster. Like, if they top Division 2 and win it with a perfect record, I mean, you can't buy confidence like that going into their clash against Derry. It's a massive, massive game between both of these sides. No doubt about it. I cannot wait for this one. I'm very, very interested to see how the likely Keane McConville, Oisin Canati get on, because no doubt this will be the toughest test that they've had in the league so far this year when it comes to defending. Like, coming up against a Jim McGuinness style defence, it's going to be very, very difficult. I'd be interested to see the Donegal press on Armagh, force them to go long perhaps, with their Gagan pressing. But it's going to be really, really interesting, this one.
Yeah, should be all right. You just hope both sides play to their best, and that it doesn't
money down on the fight as well. How much we think?
Oh yeah, 100%.
I mean, the last time they played, this was the 2022 Championship, wasn't it? The massive fight at the end of the game.
It was, yeah. I think it was in the league, wasn't it? And there was a couple of 3-4 players sent off, and I think Rian O'Neill got sent off, and then
They all got overturned.
They all got overturned. Yeah.
That was about like, go on, you messes, go on, back on with you. Just don't do it again.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, no, you can definitely see a few scraps and everything else breaking out here. All in good faith, of course. Nothing bad. As long as nobody gets hurt. Yeah, like, I mean, Donegal. Like, what are you thinking? Like, because the worry for me is that both sides have come up against lesser opposition, you would say, so far, and I think that's led to Armagh playing very expansive football, Donegal doing very similar, coming up against each other. Likelihood that these two could possibly face each other in Ulster. If they were to face each other in Ulster, it would be an Ulster final because of both sides on different sides of the draw. But yeah, like, I mean, there could be shadow boxing here, and you just hope that this doesn't turn into a cagey game or a slow game. Like, you hope both sides play to the best of their ability, because if they do, like, this could be one of the games of the weekend and possibly even one of the games of the year.
But that's it, is that Donegal have actually surprised people with how much they've gone for teams, particularly Cork in round one. Like, they really pushed up and took Cork by surprise with the aggression that was in Donegal's press. And they very much put Fermanagh to the sword in the second half as well. Like, players like Darrell Boyle and Ryan McHugh and Paddy McBrearty, like, they're in top form. Interesting. But yeah, on top of that, like, Armagh never make things easy for themselves either. Like, Armagh, have a tendency to throw themselves into the fire and then pull themselves out. So this game, I think, will be very, very interesting. And the rivalry between the two teams that they have developed over, like, the rivalry that has developed between those two sides, particularly in 2022 with the two fixtures in a very short period of time. Yeah, they're both going to go for it. If I had to pick a winner, like a genuine winner, right, who do I think is going to go? I think the fact it's in the athletic grounds definitely helps Armagh. Like, that's definitely it's a really, really intense atmosphere at the athletic grounds when it's packed. Do you know what? I'm going to say a draw. Be boring as hell. I'm going to say a draw with a late equaliser, and it'll be one of those, like, where they'll both be like, yeah, I'll see you down the line, buddy, yeah? Like, that type of thing. That will be like, you'll get the feeling at the end of the game that we're going to see them clash later on in the year. Like, do you remember the Tipperary Limerick game in the hurling last year where they drew in Munster, and you got a real sense that, like, they're going to meet each other again? And they didn't. But, like, you know what I mean? I'm saying a draw.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And you know what? I think I'd go along the same lines as Mikey here, who says Armagh 16 points, Donegal 112. Yeah, I actually fancy Armagh. I think Armagh are gonna end the Jim McGuinness sort of homecoming that he's had so far in terms of 3 wins from 3. Still think Donegal will get promoted. Still think Donegal could very well go on and win the Division 2 title and possibly have a better season than Armagh. And I still think both sides, still think Donegal are going to play very, very good stuff this weekend. I mean, Dara O'Beal, like, unbelievable performance, obviously, from him at the weekend. 2 goals, 3 points. Paddy McBrearty's looking back to his absolute best. Oisin Gallen's in fantastic form. And then Armagh, like, some of the new players they've introduced in Oisin Conity, and getting Conor Turbo up to his best. Do you think Rian O'Neill maybe comes back in for this game? He was on the bench the last day, but he was an unused substitute. Could there be a possibility maybe comes on, late change, maybe a half-time, maybe comes on or something? I have a funny feeling we see him in this game.
Yeah, I think we will. I think it's the perfect stage for him to come back in, isn't it? I mean, what a way to rev up the crowd if Rian O'Neill comes in. I mean, not a better way to do it. Not a better stage for the man as well. And we know he loves epic moments. Like, any time that Armagh need a late score, they always throw the ball to Rian O'Neill, and he'll fire it over from God knows where with the outside of the right boot, or he'll kick it off the ground from about 70 metres out. So I think there'll be a moment like that in this game. Because when I was thinking a late equaliser for a draw, my mind went to Rian O'Neill. I think it'll be like either Rian O'Neill or McBrearty will kick a late equaliser.
Yeah. I think it will most certainly be a feisty one. So you're going for a draw. I'm going for an Armagh narrow win. But it should be an absolute cracker nonetheless. Meath and Kildare, obviously neighbours and everything else, two teams that know each other very, very well. Kildare are obviously not in the best of form at the minute. 3 defeats from 3. Meath got over the line against Louth the last time out. Just about, though. It certainly went down to the wire. And after being 5 points up in injury time, they nearly conceded 2 late goals. Obviously, they conceded 1 late goal, but still did manage to pull through. And it was a massive win for Colm O'Rourke's men. Very, like, with the form of Kildare, with everything that's going on with Kildare, it's very, very hard to see them do anything in this game. They I suppose they have a record of playing, like they know Meath quite a lot. This is a game you feel like they could get up for, but at the same time, when you're looking at Kildare's performances, it's very, very hard for to bet for them, no matter who they're playing at the minute. They're looking that poor.
Yeah, like you're waiting for the bite back when you're watching Kildare. You're waiting for them to be like, all right, come on. Literally everyone is criticizing you. Everyone is saying this is one of the worst Kildare teams that we've seen. Like, that the performances have been embarrassing. And the reality is like Kieran Whelan put it best. Like when he was saying that when the team is fragile, it takes very little for it going wrong to get the team to be like, oh, for God's sake, here we go again. And like, that is true. When they highlighted on the Sunday game, whenever Kildare didn't have the ball, they weren't working hard. The morale is low because the results, they're not seeing them. And I was saying this on the podcast that we did, the weekend review with John McMahon on my channel on Cliha. Like, obviously, massive shout out to John as well for coming on. I did a great episode with him. And the two of us were talking about it. We were saying, like, the players are there. Like Kevin Feely, Daniel Flynn, Kevin Flynn. Like, these guys have put in individually class performances. Like Jimmy Hyland, Mick O'Grady, Shay Ryan. The players are there. And then on top of that, you also have all of the under 20 lads that have come through over the last 2 years that have been there if you manage to integrate them correctly into the team. But you had players like James McGrath, Jack Robinson, who came through that have gone travelling. And it's just like, okay, well, they're not there now. And you do genuinely question them as well. You have Glenn Ryan, you have Anthony Rainbow, you have Johnny Doyle. I know Dermot Earley. I don't think Dermot Earley's there this year, but he was there. You have those guys who are like the biggest legends that Kildare have had in the 21st century in terms of Gaelic football, like coaching the team. And if you're a Kildare footballer and you're not going to put your all in for those lads, who are you going to put your all in for?
Yeah.
Who can motivate you if those guys can't? Because if I was a Kildare footballer, those lads, if I was a Kildare footballer now, those lads would have been the lads that I would have been looking up to my entire life. If I ended up on a Dublin team with like Stephen Cluxton, Kieran Whelan, Bernard Brogan coaching, they'd be able to get the best out of me because of who they are, simply put. So you would imagine that the same logic works for the Kildare lads, which then gets me on to the next thing. There has to be a disconnect somewhere. There has to be something of like, maybe there's too many head chefs in the kitchen. Maybe John Doyle, Rainbow, and Glenn Ryan, they're all trying to pull different ways. That like Rainbow, Doyle, and Glenn Ryan are all in their own right good enough to be their own managers. That you'd argue maybe is there something gone wrong there. You would wonder, is there something wrong in the camp with the players? Because they had issues with Cian O'Neill as well. That you're saying, is there a common denominator here of like, no matter what coach comes in, there's issues with them. And there's players that leave the team, that then come back, that then leave again. Because they haven't been consistent. And 2022, when they got relegated from Division 1, it did have that feeling of like, the band's back together. Kildare had their best team out. They had Daniel Flynn playing outstanding football. Jimmy Hyland was playing great stuff. Kevin Flynn was playing class. They nearly stayed up. And it did have a sense of like, okay, Kildare, first year with these guys at the helm. Let's see what 2023 brings. And it's been so bad since then.
Yeah.
Like, so bad. So you're thinking, what's the disconnect? What's happened from that point on where the vibe just hasn't been around them. And the thing is that we see this across the board with managers. Glenn Ryan is now starting to point the finger at literally anybody else. Like literally the ref, the journalist. Like he was complaining to the ref at the end of the Armagh game. I'm saying, you got absolutely annihilated. What are you talking about? That's like the guy who's terrible at video games online that just is like, oh, my signal, my Wi-Fi's bad.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Yeah.
You got annihilated. You cannot even say anything to the ref. Just take that defeat, because you were nowhere near Armagh's level on that day. And we see it across the board with sports that once a manager starts pointing the finger, it's you, it's Croke Park, it's this, it's that. And then leaks start to appear everywhere. This person is falling out. This person's left the camp. This person isn't involved anymore. And that seems to be what's happening with Kildare, which it happened with Jose Mourinho at Manchester United. That's a brilliant example. Like every bad result, he was falling out with Pogba. He was falling out with all these other players, that eventually it just falls apart and the manager has to go. Like the way it is now, if Kildare don't turn it around for the rest of this league, I would be stunned if he's still here in 2025, sorry.
Absolutely. Yeah, Gaelic guy says, where did it all go wrong for Kildare? I suppose, yeah. I mean, you probably...
That's it. Like, to put it bluntly, they went in 1 year from being a team that was really unlucky to get relegated from Division 1, like really unlucky.
Yeah.
To then in 1 year,
although Dublin got relegated as well, like Kildare beat Dublin and finished above Dublin, like.
Yeah. And then they literally in 1 year went from being that team that were so unlucky to get relegated from Division 1, they then went to a team that were so lucky to stay up in Division 2.
Do you know what I think it was, though? I think it was more so when they were in Division 1, there was a bounce, because Glenn Ryan came in, Anthony Rainbow, Johnny Doyle, as you said, all these legends of Kildare who are all part of, one of the best Kildare teams of all time. Obviously, that won a Leinster title in 2000, got to the All-Ireland final in 98. Like I think there was a bounce from the players. They all bought in straight away because of that. But I think through time, maybe whether it's coaching methods, maybe it's whether we don't know. As you said, maybe too many head chefs or something. There's a disconnect. Obviously, something that's happened there somewhere along the line, and I think it started last year and it's continued to trickle its way into this year. And it's like a bad smell in a house. Do you know what I mean? If you don't get rid of it quickly, it's going to spread. And
that's what I mean. There is sturdy. They were as sturdy in the Armagh game as a sandcastle. Like the minute that anything went wrong, done. Like I loved how Kieran Whelan showed like the shot of Derek Kieran missing a shot for a point in the first minute. And then it was like, and after that their heads were down. It's like, really? It's that easy?
Yeah.
Was it that easy to drop the heads? Like that you wonder, are they going out? Are they going out to this game expecting to lose? Because the fact is, here's what Meath have shown that Kildare haven't. Meath have shown fight.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to say, Meath played crap for the majority of the game against Fermanagh. They played way below the level that they're capable of. However, they were 3 points down with minutes to go, and they clawed it back for a draw. Is that a result that's a great result for Meath? No. But they didn't go, to hell with this and give up. They didn't. They still pulled it back to get something out of it. And then in the Louth game, they did the same damn thing.
Yeah.
They were behind at halftime against a Louth side who have proven against Cork and against Armagh, they've proven they're no scrubs this year just because Mickey Hart's gone. And Louth made it very difficult for Meath in the second half, but Meath still fought back for the victory. So my point is that if this is coming down to fight shown in the league so far, it's not even close. Meath have shown far more fight. And the fact it's in Port Talton, as I said, you'd be expecting that Kildare will bite back at some point. surely at some point your pride's going to kick in. You're going to say, everybody's giving us all this abuse. Let's shut them up. Let's go out and win this game. But I think there's no way that Meath don't win this game.
Yeah. I agree with you as well. Like you would expect there to be some sort of fight and some sort of bite, but I think the opening 10 minutes could be crucial, because if Meath start well, go 5 or 6 up early on, again, the lights go out, and it could be open season. You're predicting Meath.
Is you looked at it and it was over so fast against Armagh. I was stunned at how quick it was over.
5 points up and inside like 3 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, they were 1-4 to no score ahead after 10 minutes. Like 7 points up inside 10 minutes. And then they were 2-8 to 4 points ahead after, I think it was 17 minutes, or a half time. They were 2-8 to 4 ahead. I'm getting them mixed up. I think, but they were at least 2-8 to 4 points ahead at some point very early on. And it's like, that's it. I agree with you. Meath need to score the first 3 or 4 points to win this game, in my opinion.
Absolutely, yeah. Meath, by what you're thinking, 2 or 3 points?
5,
yeah. I'm gonna go 3 points. I would fancy Kildare to put in something. I'm just looking at Kildare because I've seen Kildare so many times. I'm expecting something from them because I do think the talent is there, but at the same time, I do expect Meath to come through. And again, you're checking the full-time score and Meath win by 9 or 10. Again, you probably actually wouldn't be that surprised, because that's just how bleak
I think
they're looking.
If Meath batter them, Glen Ryan is dangerously close to the door, in my opinion, at that point.
Yeah, I think so.
Because like the Kildare County Board have already met and said that it's not good enough. And like, it's hard to argue with them. You're talking about it, like you're saying, like they're spending a lot of money now to renovate Newbridge. They need a good atmosphere around the Kildare team. They need that when that stadium's finished being built, that people are gonna sell it out.
Yeah,
and get behind the team. Having this atmosphere and having a team that's in Division 3 won't cut that.
Yeah, like no offense to any sides that are playing in Division 3, but like you're not going to generate the same revenue that you would get from Division 1 games or even high caliber Division 2 games. So yeah, bleak times for Kildare indeed, but certainly I think we'll both go with Meath to come true. Another side where things seem to be a little bit bleak is Cork. 3 games, 3 defeats. Obviously, our mutual friend, Mr. Matthew Hurley, obviously the Gaelic statsman himself, not too happy with Cork's performances at the minute, and he very much expects Cork to get relegated. He obviously said that on my own show. Fermanagh, obviously 3 points on the board so far, beating Kildare, drawn with Meath. They'll be disappointed with their performance last time out against Donegal, but it was actually fairly even at half time. It was just in the second half Donegal pulled away after that. What do you think with Cork? Like, because I've kind of looked at it and I don't think it's the same situation as Kildare. I don't think things are as bad in Cork as they are in Kildare. I think Kildare in many ways is almost rotten to the core, but with Cork, I do think that the players, the talent are there. I don't think it's a case of bad management or anything like that. I think they've just started the league very poorly. They've missed big chances. They've lost 2 games by a point, and they certainly haven't kicked on from last year. But where do you stand on Cork? Like, could they be going down to Division 3 as well?
They're definitely dangerously close. There's no doubt about it. And this game is very scary for Cork because, like, to go away to Fermanagh, like Fermanagh showed against Kildare that they are ready to dig their heels in. They showed against Meath that they're ready to fight until the end. Donegal as well, like they really, really stayed in there with Donegal in the first half, albeit the second half Donegal put them away, rather easily. But up until half time, Fermanagh were toe-to-toe with Donegal. Especially at home, Fermanagh are really, really confident in their system and in their abilities. Everybody knows their job with Fermanagh. They all know what they're doing. And with Cork, you see, here's what one of the main things I think is kind of bothering Cork is Cork had a bit of an underdog mentality last year. They were building. And when it came to the Roscommon game and when it came to the Mayo game, it almost is like, did you know that like the phrase styles make fights? It was almost like when you look back on it, those games were kind of perfect for Cork. Like when you look at it like that, Mayo and Roscommon were favourites, so the kind of onus was on them to go at Cork. Cork could set up with 15 lads that were ready to fight, battle, hustle, put the bodies on the line and then eke out the scores. Like to, grind out the victory. And you like players like Sean Powter, Rory Dean, Killian O'Hanlon that are brilliant at that are big, like Colin O'Callaghan, Ian Maguire, that are big lads. They're able to get stuck in. They're able to battle against the best teams in the country. And Cork almost suffer when the team isn't as good as Cork, technically or talent-wise, and they sit off Cork. And they're like, okay, come get us. And Cork have a team that's set up to almost play like the underdogs. So that's why you see Cork struggle with teams that you would imagine they should beat without too much fuss. But then they're able to go toe-to-toe with Mayo and Roscommon come championship, because their team is kind of set up to play like that, kind of no matter who they play against. It's kind of similar. Like, I don't want to always be making comparisons to other sports, but it is kind of similar to like a mid-table Premier League team that like, nobody likes to play against them from the big teams because they'll always put it up to them, but then they won't be able to put away a lower league team because they're not used to playing that way. Yeah. Like Cork had adapted that one size fits all kind of thing last year, which I think is why in the same year they struggled against Louth, lost to Clare, but then also beat Mayo, beat Roscommon, and took Kerry to the pin of their collars, because that's how they set their team up. And that's why I think they got caught by Donegal, because they didn't expect Donegal to go for their throats the way that Donegal did at the start. But look, that was never a game that Cork were going to win, if we're being honest. The Louth game, that was always going to be a tricky one. Like, now that we know that Louth haven't really taken a backward step at all since Mickey Hart has left. The Cavan game, they had opportunities to win that game. And this is the other thing as well, is like, that's why it's not as bad as the Kildare game, because against Cavan, against Fermanagh, and against Armagh, it's the way that Kildare lost. They got battered. Yeah. Particularly against Armagh. And against Fermanagh, it's just, they weren't great, were they? Whereas Cork could have looked at the Cavan game and gone, do you know what? We had chances to win that game. Owen McSweeney hits the crossbar. Like, if that goes into the back of the net, Cork probably do push on and win that game. So, no, go ahead.
Could Fermanagh pull off the upset, do you think? Is it possible? Considering...
It definitely is possible. It's a Cork team that are right in their scopes. Like, absolutely right in their scopes. That, like, Fermanagh are going to eye this one up and think this was a really good chance to beat a big gun here. If we beat them, Fermanagh are, on the brink of survival then at that point, and which would be a huge achievement for Kieran Donnelly to play, Sam Maguire football. If they can pull it off, it'd be absolutely massive for them. And for Cork, it would be disastrous, because then you would have a situation where Cork and Kildare in the Tailteann Cup, which means one of them will play in it and not win it, which would have been inconceivable a couple of years ago for both of them. So I'm going to go... It's really tricky, because this is like the banana skin of all banana skins. Fermanagh could very easily catch Cork here. I'll go with... You see, I don't want to say a draw, because I've already said a draw for the game. I'll go Cork by 1 point. To be defiant, show a bit of fight. Cork by 1.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Cork as well. Like, I think the talent is there. I know we mentioned with Kildare that the talent is also there, but I think they just look miles and miles off it. Whereas with Cork, like, I still think there's enough physical presence around the middle as well. Stephen Sherlock, Brian Hurley. I think there is still enough. I think there is still enough there in my opinion. Mikey had a good comment here saying, Aaron, you'd make a killing if you sent Matthew Hurley up to Enniskillen and asked them to vlog it. I think the phone would probably be smashed. I think we'd have to think of the poor mobile device. He'd probably vlog it and then probably lose smash the phone or something halfway through or something. But yeah, to be fair though, I do think he'll be a lot happier come come Sunday or whatever. I do actually fancy Cork to just about get over the line by 1 or 2 points. But it certainly should be a close game, and you wouldn't be too surprised if Fermanagh were to pull it off. Louth and Cavan. Cavan are going very well at the minute. 4 points from a possible 6 so far, 2 wins. Could have taken something from Donegal as well. They were very, very unlucky that day. Raymond Gallagher's done a superb job for the Breffni men so far. And equally, Ger Brennan's done very well with Louth. Like, they were very unlucky not to come through against Meath at the same time. 4 points up at half time. Just couldn't see the game out. Multiple goal chances in that match as well. And fair play, actually, to the Meath goalkeeper, Sean Brennan, who made a number of big saves. But yeah, look, I mean, if Cavan can get something here, especially with Armagh playing Donegal, like, I don't think anyone's thinking Cavan can get promoted. But if they win this, all of a sudden, they might start, they might just start creeping into the equation,
But that's it, and if Donegal beat Armagh and Cavan beat Louth, then all of a sudden you realise Cavan have still to play Armagh.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the whole dynamic changes on, because so far everything's ticking along nicely for Armagh and it's ticking along nicely for Donegal. Cavan are somehow kind of still bobbing along. But this weekend, if Cavan beat Louth and Donegal beat Armagh, the whole dynamic shifts, and that game between Cavan and Armagh becomes massive. Because if Armagh start the year off by failing to get out of Division 2, it's not a good start to the league campaign. There's no doubt about it. Like, because for Galligan, like, it's bonus territory. You're a new manager in. You're not expected to, shoot the lights out. But yet, that photo's gas. The profile photo there.
A few good ones here, in fairness.
Yeah, there is a few good photos. Truth is as well, like, Cavan have a new management in, as I was saying. They weren't expected to shoot the lights out, and every win, now that they've pretty much consolidated their position in Division 2, every win now is a bonus. If they push for promotion, I mean, that's a hell of a start to Raymond Gallagher's tenure. To be honest, and I don't mean this in any sort of a disrespectful way, I think in essence it would come a little bit too quick. It would come a little bit too soon for them. Because if they were to go up in Gallagher's first year as manager, it's a hell of an ask to stay up in his second year as manager in Division 1. It might come a little bit too soon. You would probably think maybe if they could do it like Derry did, where they got a year at Division 2, they just about missed out on promotion. But then when it came to year 2, they were on it and you knew they were going up from the minute go. So maybe Gallagher could look at the Derry example and think, yeah, maybe we go that route, where even if we just missed, go for promotion next year. I think that would be probably the best thing for them. But they're not going to turn down promotion. Do you know what I mean? So I think that Cavan will win this game. I think Cavan will win this game because I think Cavan will nick it by a point or two. They're kind of becoming pretty good at that. just getting over the line in these games. Cavan for me by a couple of points, but I have to give massive credit to Louth. They've been phenomenal so far in the league campaign.
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to go for Louth on this one. I just think in RTE, like, very, very tough place to go to. A lot of teams obviously struggle there. We saw Cork obviously go there and get beaten. I could see Louth just turning Cavan over, just getting a result, getting the 2 points. I think both sides are very even. I do think both sides are very even. I think both sides will stay in this division fairly comfortably. And I think we'll go on to have good seasons. And I just think Louth, because I watched the Louth and Meath game back, and the amount of goal chances Louth had, like, they had so many big chances. They did more than enough, in my opinion, to win that game. And that's not to take anything away from Meath, as we were saying earlier. The resilience of Meath is back and is there, and that's something that was missing in Meath for a long time. But I do think Louth had multiple chances to come through. So I am going to back them to get the victory versus Cavan. Moving on to the Division 3 games. This is how things look in Division 3. Down are sitting on top with 6 points. Westmeath are there with 6 points as well. Sligo, Clare and Antrim all have 4 points. Offaly, Wicklow and Limerick all level with 0 points. Interesting enough, when you look at some of the fixtures in Division 4, there's a strong, or in Division 3, there's a strong possibility you could still have 3 teams all with 0 points after 4 league games, which must be a first. I don't think it's ever happened before, but it is in fact possible when you look at the games. Down and Offaly up first. Down in absolutely flying form. Offaly, things just don't seem to be going according to plan for Declan Kelly's men. Seen Michael Doigan obviously tweeting as well. Obviously ex Offaly legend, and of course he is now the chairman as well of Offaly GA, and he wasn't too happy about some of the backlash that Offaly got after that defeat to Clare. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think yeah, like some of the abuse is certainly way too over the top. And yeah, Offaly, like they did have the 8-point lead, and I think they blew it against Clare, and obviously that's what a lot of Offaly fans weren't too happy about. And you couldn't see, I don't think you could see Offaly getting out from this either. Like, and it is mad. Like, if Offaly go down to Division 4, that'd be a little bit mental. I still think they'll have enough to turn it around, but yeah, you'd have to go with Down here, I think.
Yeah, no, Down will win this game. Down on a one-way ticket out with Division 3. They're too good to be there, in a sense. Like, players like Liam Doherty, Pat Haven, Liam Kerr, like, they were absolutely flying it in the Tailteann Cup last season up until the final, and honestly looked like they were going to win the final up until the weirdest goal of all time. The one that hit the post and went in off Pat Haven's knee. Yeah, like, they'd never recovered after that, but point is Down have absolutely carried on that momentum in 2024. Like, Owen Murdoch is in insane form as well for them. As I said, they're on a one-way ticket out of Division 3. I don't think Offaly are going to stop them in this game, especially in Park Esler. Yeah, Down will win this one. Offaly, though, I think they'll be fine. I think Offaly will beat Limerick. I think they'll beat Wicklow. And I think that they'll do enough to stay up. Just about, though. And, like, while we're on it, like, Michael Dignan's comments are correct. Like, I don't care how bad the player played. You never go after the person. Separate the player and the person. If you want to criticize their performance, go for it. But like, to call them stuff is just, I've no respect for that.
Yeah, it's a bit too far. It's definitely a bit too far, in my opinion. But I would agree with you there as well. I think Down will be too strong. Sligo and Antrim. Antrim 2 wins from 3. Obviously, heavy defeat last time out versus Down. Sligo with 2 wins so far. It's an interesting one, this one, for Sligo. Like, if they can get over the line here, they might just, be looking at, I think, like, promotion maybe might still be a little bit unlikely with how good Down and Westmeath are looking. But for either side who can get a win here, they'd be going strong, making a push going into the last few games. So it is a huge game for both of these two.
Yeah, it's a huge game. Like, Sligo, the prospect of potentially getting back-to-back promotions doesn't look likely. Westmeath and Down look far too strong. But at the same side, to consolidate themselves in the top half of Division 3 would be absolutely massive for them. Yeah, like they lost out to Clare in round 1. Clare battled a little bit harder than them in what was a fiercely contested game by all accounts. I didn't get to see it. But yeah, like, this game is massive for them. I think that they will win it. I think they'll nick this one. Antrim made a great start, back-to-back wins under Andy Mack. But the defeat last week kind of brought them crashing back down to earth a little bit. That they didn't look in the game really at all. I think Sligo will probably take this one. So I agree with Tom there.
Yeah, I think Sligo will just about. Yeah, I'd say Sligo maybe by 2 to come through. I think they've looked very solid so far from what I've seen. And look, Antrim have had a very good start as well. And you certainly can't discount them. Mikey says thoughts on Antrim's new stadium plans in relation to...
Fantastic, isn't it?
It's great to finally get the go-ahead, because for so long you were thinking, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? It would have been such a shame especially with the Euros and everything else. But it looks like it's happening. But again, not everything is done and dusted so far. There could very well still be hiccups and bumps in the road before everything is done. So fingers crossed, like from an Antrim perspective, to get that stadium back would be absolutely huge for that county, because it would certainly give a lot of incentives to a lot of players in both football and hurling to come play the sport. So yeah, we're both going with Sligo anyway to come through that one. Westmeath, Limerick. Westmeath all day long. You don't really need to go into this, really, do you?
Yeah, no, Westmeath will take it. Similar to Down, they're on a one-way ticket out of Division 3. Ronan O'Toole, John Heslin, Sam McCartan, all finding form. Westmeath will win this one.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It's a shame what's happened to Limerick. Like, I think, as football fans.
But this is what I mean, Aaron, is that like the way that the game is set up, I won't go into it too long, I promise. But we need to switch the championship structure to senior, intermediate, junior. This is just because Limerick, Carlow, Leitrim, Wexford, these are all examples that we've seen in the last 10 years of a county that's made a bit of a burst, got promoted, and then it's like they realize, are we going to win?
How far you can go?
Yeah, are we gonna win Munster? Like, say for Limerick, for example, are we going to win Munster? No, you won't. Kerry are there. Are you going to win the All-Ireland? No way. So how far can you go? And then if you don't win the Tailteann Cup, do you know what I mean? So then you get an offer to go to London. You get an offer to go to Australia. You go.
Yeah.
So if we had senior, intermediate, and junior, there'd be a real prospect of winning an All-Ireland Junior Championship. Imagine if the Carlow team had won an All-Ireland Junior Championship, and won that final in Croke Park. Could you imagine what that would have done for Carlow GAA? So you're right. It is sad when a team makes a burst like that, and then the prospects of what they can realistically achieve become apparent, and players just one by one just start slipping out the door. And Limerick, if you look at it on paper, like they still have the likes of Cian Sheehan, Killian Ryan, but it's players like Danny Neville that have just slipped away, that were really, really good players that have just slipped away.
Yeah.
And bit by bit, it takes its toll on Limerick. And then Billy Lee steps away, and now they're falling like a stone down towards Division 4, back to square one. And it's a shame.
Yeah, no, it is. It is, because, as I was saying, like, we all love to see teams making a rise. And, I think it's a better championship and it's a better system if we've more teams coming up the ladder, and especially, teams that we're not used to seeing up there. So yeah, it is a shame to see Limerick sort of fall back down. But yeah, I think we both.
It's another thing as well for the business and the marketability of the GAA. It's like one of the games that sticks out to me the most in terms of like the All-Ireland semi-finals over the last 15 years is Down Kildare in 2010. And the reason why is because the colours in Croke Park were red and black against white. Like, and the whole stadium was red and black and white. And usually it's sky blue and navy and red and white, or it's green and gold and green and red of Mayo, say, for example. Like when Wexford got there to play Tipperary in the hurling, Croke Park was purple and gold. Like, how rare is that? And it just adds a bit of different flavour into the championship to see these new teams at this stage of the championship. That's why when Armagh get to Croke Park, I love when Armagh get to Croke Park, because the orange jumps off the screen at you. Like, I think it's just something that the GAA should invest in these counties, and the senior, intermediate, junior would just... Because you see it in the hurling that the Joe McDonough used to be a Mickey Mouse competition that whoever got relegated from the Liam McCarthy would just go straight back up. Now, Offaly went down a few years ago, haven't been able to get back. Laois went down a couple of years ago, haven't been able to get back. Bit by bit, it's getting more competitive.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, and that is the problem. And look, we could go on and on about it, but it does seem to be when certain teams reach the top of their mountain, then that's it. They hit the summit and they realize they can't go much further. And it is A shame. I suppose a lot of us were thinking maybe Clare were going to be one of them teams, because they were tipped by many to potentially be thereabouts in terms of relegation, considering the amount of players they've lost. But things have actually gone all right for Clare. Like, 2 wins so far. Probably a little bit unlucky not to get over the line versus Westmeath. A tremendous comeback win versus Offaly as well. And again, Wicklow, another one of them teams that could end up with 0 points after 4 games. What are you thinking here? You'd probably have to maybe go with Clare.
I will go with Clare. And to be honest, I haven't been surprised that they've done really well. The fighting spirit is still there from Colin Collins' era. Those lads won't go down without a fight. And the fact that everybody writing them off, they still have the likes of Evan McMahon. They still have the likes of Aaron Griffin. I'd be fairly confident that Clare will win this game.
Yeah, I think so as well. I do have a funny feeling Wicklow will put it up here, and I think considering Wicklow are the type of side, especially under Ushie McConville, that can sit in, make a game difficult, and Clare haven't been the most highest scoring either as well. So I could see this maybe being a 1 or 2 point win, a late win for Clare. But one thing we've seen with Clare, even still with the players that they have missing, is that resilience. That resilience is well and truly still there. So I would have to go with Clare to pull through. Division 4 looks a little like this. Laois and Leitrim both top with 6 points. Carlow with 4 points. Tipperary with 3. Longford and Wexford are both 5th and 6th with 2 points. London are 7th with a point, and Waterford are bottom with 0. I think the big game that stands out this weekend in Division 4 is Carlow and Leitrim. Leitrim are with 6 points. Carlow are with 4 points. Suppose Andy Moran has faced, a lot of adversity in his time as Leitrim manager, a lot of setbacks. They win this weekend. They're 4 points clear of Carlow with 3 games to go. There's a bit of a gap there. Massive game, really, for Leitrim, especially Ryan O'Rourke, obviously back in the side now as well. But at the same time, Carlow could upset the odds a little bit. Obviously, a disappointing result against Laois. I think they were actually leading at half-time in that game. But what are you thinking here?
Yeah, it's a massive game, this one. Absolutely huge for both of these teams. As you said, Leitrim have had the setbacks that they've had under Andy Moran, losing to New York, losing to London a couple of times. It was pretty hard on them. But this year, I've been very impressed by them so far. They've done what they've needed to do. And then some. The victory over Wexford was the most impressive out of their 3 wins so far. The others were over London and Waterford. Carlow started really well, 2 wins from 2, including beating Tipperary away from home. I was very impressed by that. I didn't expect them to lose to Laois the way that they did, and that gives me confidence that Leitrim can go and win this game. But this is the most difficult test for Leitrim, no question about it. And the thing is that the last couple of years they've been looking good for promotion, and then they've slipped up in a game like this.
Yeah.
Last year they lost to Wexford when they wouldn't have expected to. And that kind of derailed their promotion push. This game has similar elements to it. It's the question of, are they different this year from when they were last year? Ryan O'Rourke back in the team is huge, straight back in with a hat-trick last week to get into the team of the week, and rightfully so. I'll go with Leitrim to win. Leitrim by 1 point for me.
Yeah, I'll go with Leitrim by 3. I think they will be too strong. But again, Carlow at home, as you said before, big result for them against Tipperary a couple of weeks ago. So you could see Carlow doing something here. But I think Leitrim have more than enough, especially with Ryan O'Rourke back in the side, the form of Darragh Rooney as well. He's been an absolutely sensational form so far for Leitrim. Go through some of these other games very quickly. Wexford, Waterford. Can't see anything for Waterford here. I mean, fair play to them for putting up a bit of a fight against Longford, but Wexford are very unpredictable at the best times. You never know where you're going to get with them. But at home, surely for the sake of any Wexford fans, they'll get the victory here.
Yeah, well, Wexford for me will take this one. But yeah, as you're right, Waterford were very good against Longford, but I see nothing but a Wexford win.
Yeah, and Tipperary, Laois. I mean,
Laois
are in flying form. To be fair, 3 wins. They beat Wexford comfortably. They beat Carlow comfortably as well, albeit they were down at half-time. They came back and won.
There's always the factor in Division 4, though, of what if Tipperary just get their shit together for this game.
Yeah, but I can't see it. We've been thinking that Like, unfortunately, they won that Munster title a couple of years ago, and now they've clocked out. That's just, and obviously Connor
finished.
and obviously Connor Sweeney's ACL injury as well. Like that was a massive blow. Because he was coming to the end of his time anyway, like in terms of age profile and everything else, mid-30s. And then you get an ACL injury like that, probably, will we ever see him line out for the Tipperary seniors again? I hope so, but yeah, like, I mean,
I probably would go at least there. They seem to be on a bit of a one-way ticket out of Division 4. They've been really, really solid in their opening 3 games. The way they disposed the Carlow was very, very impressive. So I probably would go at least to nick this one. McNulty's getting a tune out of them, no question about it. Like Mark Timmins at 6 has been absolutely outstanding. Like, I think, was he 38 years of age now, 37 years of age? He's still tearing it up at centre half back. Evan O'Carroll has been flying for him as well. And Killian Roach in goal is a superstar. Like, he's been absolutely phenomenal so far in this Division 4 campaign. So I probably will go at least to take it. But Tip could catch them. I don't think they will. But they caught Longford in Pearse Park.
They did,
so, but I will go at least to narrowly take it. But this is what I mean, is with Laois, it's actually, ironically, after 3 games last year, Laois looked nailed on for promotion.
They did, actually, yeah.
They'd gone away to Sligo and they'd beaten them by 6 points. 2-11 to 11 points, I remember the score, because I remember being like, wow, okay, looks like Laois are going up. And then they lost to Leitrim and they lost to Wexford in the run-in. 2 teams that they have yet to face.
There we go.
So I would go with Laois to nick it, but that's because I think McNulty's probably getting a better tune out of them than Billy Sheehan did. But yeah, I wouldn't, after last year, kind of fool me once, fool me twice type thing. Kind of like, all right, win this game and then I'm a believer.
You're all in then. You're all in on the Laois hype train. And yeah, I think they will come through Tipperary, in fairness. Speaking of Longford messing things up in Pearse Park, could you see them do that against London this weekend? I mean, London getting a point last time out.
Surely not.
Yeah.
Surely not. These serious questions asked about Paddy Christie and the management team and the players if they were to lose this game, because they looked very good in the O'Byrne Cup. I know it's the preseason competition, and out of the preseason competitions, it's probably the one that's taken the least serious by a lot of teams that enter it. But there'd be a lot of questions asked if Longford were to lose this one. So I think Longford will win it.
Yeah, no, I think so as well. Like, and I think you were watching that game or looking at the score of the Waterford game, and you were probably looking at it in different moments. I think Waterford were leading at half time, and you were probably thinking, geez, if Longford don't get anything from that, massive question marks. But they got over the line, to be fair. Be tough for them to get over the line against London. They're always a bit of a sticky team, but I do think they should be too strong, especially at home as well. Before we finish, player of the week and bet of the week, what are you thinking?
Player of the week and bet of the week. Player of the week, David Clifford, unfortunately. And bet of the week, Galway to beat Derry.
There we go.
Like, if you like the most money you could make off a bet, Galway to upset Derry.
Yeah, no, you probably would. In fairness, yeah. I think for myself, in terms of player of the week, I'd go Conor Turbot. I have a huge game for Armagh. I think he could really step up and deliver. Bet of the week, I suppose it's a tough one, really. Like, I mean, like, there's a lot of games really that you kind of just look towards and think those are formalities. Let me just have a look back through these games again. Like Fermanagh, you could see Fermanagh getting something against Cork, I suppose. Like that could be a shock. I suppose I've gone loud to beat Cavan. I suppose maybe I go with that one. I guess that's about as close to an upset as I've predicted. But yeah.
Well, I haven't even predicted Galway to beat Derry. I'm just saying, like.
Yeah, you're just saying. Yeah, fair. Probably Fermanagh Cork, then I'd probably look towards, but there we go. Anyway, yeah, I think we'll wrap this up here. Seamus, thank you very much for coming on. Make sure to check out on Clithe. Make sure to check them out, obviously, on YouTube, Instagram, wherever they are. And yeah, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already. Appreciate anyone who tuned in, and let us know your predictions, obviously, in the comments down below as well. All right, yeah, cheers, lads, for tuning in, and we will speak to you all soon.